Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to talk about Vero. So Vero is a brand new social media site. It's a competitor to Facebook and Google+, right? It's actually a competitor to Facebook. I don't really, and so basically, one reason why I'm talking about this today is social media sites are incredibly important to our modern lives. They really are. So I'm very excited to see Vero. I think it's really interesting. I joined Vero because an artist I follow on Facebook named Travis Hansen. Travis Hansen makes Life of RPG. He makes web comics and a lot of really tabletop role-playing game specific web comics, essentially. And they're very good. His art is just beautiful. Really, really powerful. A little bit cartoonish, but she's just got a really unique style that nobody else has. And Travis Hansen was on Facebook and said, "Hey, I'm over at Vero. I'm over on Vero, V-E-R-O, and I'm lonely, right? So come join me." And so I was like, okay, I got room on my phone. I'll try it out, right? So I checked out Vero, and I did my homework before I just signed on, right? And it was saying essentially the concept is Facebook without ads, right? And I'm like, that's very interesting, right? Now, I don't mind ads at all, right? And I really don't need another social media site. I'm very happy with Google+, Twitter, and Facebook, right? But I really love competition, and I think, our American society really kind of promotes competition, and I think competition makes it so that places like Facebook just can't sit on their laurels, right? And so I really love the idea that Vero's there, and now it has less than 1 million users, which is ridiculously small, right? Vero is also mobile only, right? So I didn't see that there was really any way that you can interact with it on your regular device, right? Your regular desktop unit, your laptop, right? Now, I don't really think that's a big problem. The vast majority of sharing on these apps, I think, is mobile now, and I think, and even if it isn't the majority, I think the energy and the flow, just mobiles are eating the world, man. They're just growing so fast. So, really think Vero is very, very fascinating product, and the idea of Facebook without ads, that doesn't excite me that much. I don't mind the ads on Facebook, but I love this idea of somebody pushing Facebook. And one of the other reasons, when I went over and I checked out Vero, it looked very professional. It looked like there's real money backing this. There's active developers on it. It has a really fun, clean, fresh interface. It is a beta, all right? So Vero is a beta, right? But they're saying, hey, it's free for the first 1 million people. And that's really interesting that they said free, right? So one, I would suggest if you have room on your phone, now if I'm really blessed to have a nice high-end phone. It's actually fairly old, but it had a lot. When I got it, it had like 16 or 32. It had 16 gigs of storage, right? Which means I can have a lot of apps on it. And I'm pretty ruthless about what I run on I don't put more on there than I need. So I have the room. Now, if you have one of these like 4 or 8 gigabyte phones, don't try to squeeze this thing in. But if you have the luxury of having extra space on your phone, Vero is fun. You can check it out. It's really interesting, right? And also, if it does look like, oh man, I just figured something out. What if they try to charge me later and then hold my data hostage? All right, no, I think it's fine. One of the things I'm curious of, I think later people who get in there, that's the other thing I'm really curious of, is how they're going to monetize this, right? And by the way, I'll tell you right now, information technology, monetization, and what's happening in the tech space is just so incredibly strange. I'm telling you right now, the old rules of economics where you need to make a good business and make money, it's just not like that anymore, right? In the tech space, you can burn money in a hole for 5 years and not make money. It's perfectly fine and acceptable within our industry because it's such an unusual space, right? Everybody wants to be there, and you can get venture capitaling for years, So these guys have some time. And just looking at their advertisement, looking at the way their application works, it looks like they actually do have some significant funding, and they're going to run for a while. So Vero is an interesting space. I really think it's great that people are coming up and trying to push against Facebook and say, hey, Facebook, if you don't treat your users well, we will. Now, I will be super clear. I am happy as a clam over at Facebook. I really love it, right? And so I don't really have a strong need for Vero, but I absolutely support competition. And I also support professional products that look like people worked hard on them, and it's there and it's for free, right? And there's some distinct, really interesting things that are happening on Vero. And if there's going to be a community, and I'll tell you right now, I was on MySpace way before it was cool to be on MySpace. And, having to explain to, everybody around me why MySpace was important. And I was on Facebook very early, and I'm really an early adopter. And there's a lot of benefits about being an early adopter. There's a lot of frustrations too, but the benefits truly do outweigh the frustration. So I think there's a lot of good reasons to check out Vero. I think it's a really interesting application. It's got a really cool, crisp, fun interface. And I think, and really, I'll tell you right now, there's not a ton of people or content on there. There is some. There's plenty to look at. But, it is, and one of the things I think is interesting, too, about all these new technologies, you don't know how, what kind of community will emerge, right? So Vero is really interesting. I definitely think it's worth checking out. So give Vero a try, and add me on there if you end up on there. Take care.